So in this segment, we're going to be talking about why Liz Truss's victory means more Brexit battles with Brussels. So effectively, it's a pretty good kind of rerun of Liz Truss as Foreign Secretary, but also as what her new kind of stance was during the leadership election. Definitely worth talking about because she has had to become a hardliner to impress the ERG, so they would help select her as the Tory leadership candidate. And now it's going to be interesting to see what she does at this point. So Prime Minister Truss means one thing for Brexit: more battles with Brussels. The EU is bracing itself for a more turbulent honeymoon period with Boris Johnson's successor and expects her to tear up the Brexit treaty that created the sea border. The problem is if she does that, it will scrap the trade and cooperation agreement, which is not good news for the UK. Saying, I think we've learned from history that there's only one thing the EU understands, and that is strength. I'm strong enough to make it happen, Ms Truss said during the leadership trail. Strong, strength, I'm muscly, bam, powerful, some Trump stuff. And, in fairness, that's not really true, though. The EU will happily mix it up with anyone. They've had trade wars with the US, George Bush and Donald Trump. They respond with strength. They target specific sectors to put pressure on specific politicians, like putting high tariffs on bourbon. Kentucky is a major producer of bourbon. Their senators are two top Republicans, Turtle Boy McConnell and Rand Paul, two senior Republicans. So the EU will make sure the tariffs hit certain politicians. As I've said before, the UK can't afford to put tariffs on EU goods, and even if we did, right now we're not properly checking what's being imported into the country. The EU, on the other hand, could easily slap tariffs on our goods that are already more expensive because of the physical checks, etc. So we'd get slapped in the trade war. The trade war. Brussels will have to retaliate. The question and the calculation for the new PM is how strongly will the EU hit back at Britain for, as it sees, breaking international law. At the moment, it's just going via the courts. The EU can add more to it, but I don't know if they will. Truss campaigned as a Johnsonian, that sounds so stupid, continuity candidate on Brexit, but she will enter Downing Street at a time when, as former EU Brexit negotiator Barnier might have put it, the clock is ticking. If Truss plays her hand badly, she could plunge the UK into a trade war with its closest trading partner during a huge cost of living crisis. That would turn, the cost of living crisis into a real nightmare. Brussels feels betrayed. Trust in Truss is low in Dublin and Brussels, who feel betrayed after the Foreign Secretary turned on them after promising a new dawn. We covered that initially as well. Since then, she has done a little on the leadership campaign trail to dampen the pessimism that she will curry favour from hardline Tory Brexiteers by picking fights with the EU, because that's the only way she's going to be able to keep them on side. She's given responsibility for talks with the EU over Northern Ireland by Boris Johnson after the resignation of Frost. The UK and EU were deadlocked at the time over the Irish Sea border. At the time, there was speculation that Johnson had handed Truss a poison chalice to keep her ambitions in check, but all he did was really give her a position to fight for the leadership campaign. He really helped her leadership bid out. Truss embarked on a charm offensive initially, whisking her opposite number, Maros Sefcovic, to her official residence in Chevening. That was a big mansion house. The love bombing was clearly a relief to Sefcovic, who, after dealing with Lord Frost, which is a nightmare. As pressure on Boris Johnson's premiership grew this year, Truss's tone became more aggressive, and there was a big pivot from her in order to appeal to the ERG. And here you can really see the change in tack. She went from the nice stateswoman angle to kind of simmer down tensions, but as soon as she saw the end of Johnson, she became the person the ERG wanted, a rabid Brexiteer, which shows at her core, beyond wanting power, there's not much to her. And as much as I clown her, she's almost as dangerous as Johnson. She hasn't got the charm or the charisma or the energy that Johnson has, but she is as politically calculated as Boris Johnson. She demanded a wholesale renegotiation of the protocol rather than the compromise based on the October proposals last year. And some people don't understand what the statement means, tweaks versus a full-on renegotiation, which I'll elaborate on in a different video. It was a return to the demands made by Frost in July, which the EU had rejected. It was also a shock to Dublin and Brussels. Ireland and the Commission felt blindsided by a woman who had, in their view, stabbed them in the front to burnish her leadership credentials, which, in my opinion, she did. You can imagine how annoyed they must have been, but I guess it was a return to dealing with Frost, and Truss has more of those, uncomfortable chairs kicking around, which she gave to the Australian delegation, which was hilarious. The reformed Remainer. It speaks volumes that Dublin made it clear it would prefer Rishi Sunak, who has impeccable Brexiteer credentials. The issue with Sunak is he didn't want a trade war with the EU because he knew how stupid that would be. In cabinet meetings in Westminster, Truss was now pushing for Article 16 to be triggered. If she wanted it triggered, she would have done it by now, in my opinion. None of this, you'll hold me back rubbish. She's the PM with a stacked majority. It's clear she's stalling, in my opinion. The clause allows a party to suspend parts of the protocol, blah blah blah. Again, Article 16 has a 1 month delay. It just leads to more talks and the UK will have to justify its position. Otherwise, the EU can put down retaliatory tariffs. Sunak, then Chancellor, reportedly won the argument against using Article 16 after pointing out the risk to the economy during the cost of living crisis. I think Johnson didn't want to trigger Article 16. He just wanted someone else to be, the voice of reason rather than himself. And if anything, the cost of living crisis has gotten worse since Sunak was Chancellor, or since he left as Chancellor. Truss would go on to be the driving force behind the Northern Ireland Protocol Bill, which Brussels finds an even more offensive breach of international law. The bill hands ministers the powers to unilaterally tear up parts of the treaty, which would put the UK on a collision course with the EU and Washington. It was also designed to coax the DUP to enter power sharing with Sinn Féin after it lost its majority in the Stormont elections in May. The Unionists have refused, until the protocol is removed or replaced, won't drop the block until the bill clears the Lords. This is unlikely to happen before October, which could trigger fresh elections in Northern Ireland as early as November and no later than in January. Maybe that's what she's waiting for, given that things in Stormont normally need cross-community consent, to elect certain people into the Stormont Assembly. Even if the Unionists lose more support, I don't know how much this changes. Another election in Northern Ireland will not make forming a new executive any easier, and further delay a functioning devolved government during a cost of living crisis. If these unionists cared so much about Northern Ireland, they would be in Stormont doing their best for the people who voted for them. We know that food, on average, is cheaper in Northern Ireland than Great Britain. These people just want their own community. These people just want to be their own community in a sense, given they don't allow abortions but also want to be a part of the UK. They make no sense. All they know is that they don't want to rejoin with Ireland, which, again, Northern Ireland is just a really weird place in my opinion. But anyways, let me know what you think in the comments below. Like, comment, share, subscribe, support the channel on Patreon if you can, and hopefully I'll see you in the next one.